All right, guys, welcome to the 2022 kickoff. This is just a little presentation that I prepared to get us kind of a roadmap, if you will, for the year. And I'm hoping for a great 2022. I consider it an incredible blessing and honor to be able to work with you guys. So, by all means, please use me as a resource. I want to help develop you not only at Bird Forestry, but develop you in your overall careers, any goals, any challenges that you're having. And one of the things that I would like to really stress this year, because it's not going to get any easier to find good help to join us at Bird. It just isn't. And even if we find that what we think is the perfect candidate, uh, good candidates these days rarely stay in one place. So Jared and John, you're going to constantly be leading and developing new talent and looking for new talent all the time. And so with that, that's always going to mean that you guys are going to be stretched and you're going to be pressed for time because the work's not going to slow down. Trees don't stop growing and people don't stop buying wood. That's the bottom line. And so we have to figure out how to have a game plan to work as efficiently and to optimize our talents to the best of our ability. So that's really one of the things that I'm going to be stressing a lot this year. So with that, let's go into this first slide with Jim Rome, who is going to talk a little bit about planning.
Develop a plan, a game plan. It's ironic how we all understand the importance of mapping out a strategy for a football game or a basketball game. Not one professional team in the world begins a game without a complete strategy. But few of us take the time to map out a strategy for our lives, a game plan. But it's important. Here's the first rule for your game plan of life. Don't start your day until you have it finished. Don't begin your activity of the day until you know exactly what you plan to accomplish. Don't start your day until you have it planned. And do this every day. I know all this writing takes time and a disciplined effort, but remember that value is the fruitful result of discipline, not hope. Once you've mastered the art of planning your day, you're ready for the next level. Don't start your week until you have it finished. Don't begin your activities of the week until you know exactly what you plan to accomplish. Don't start your week until you have it planned. Just imagine what life would be like if you took time out of every Sunday to plan your week. Come Friday, you won't be saying, boy, did this week fly by. Where did it go? What did I do? No, if you plan your week before you start it, you'll know exactly what you want to do, what you want to accomplish, what you need to accomplish. If you learn to plan your days as part of your overall game plan for the week, the parts will fit much better. Your days will be better, more effective. You'll be working smarter, not harder. And when you've learned to plan your week, guess what? You've got to plan your month. Don't start your month until it's finished. By developing a game plan for your days, your weeks, your months, by developing and following your game plan, your days and weeks and months all become part of a bigger plan. A bigger design, a long-term view of your life, a visual chain. You'll start gaining a greater perspective of it all because you are planning. It takes great discipline on your part, but it will soon lead to a new habit, a habit of mastering your time, a habit of discipline that will lead you to the good life. Now, if visually seeing the future is new to you, if you've never developed a game plan before, let me offer a few tips. There are two things that you need to understand before you create a game plan. Number one, a game plan, a visual chain of your future is like a spreadsheet. Instead of listing numbers, you list activities. It's like a to-do list. And number two, the technique of developing a game plan can be used for a single day, a single project, or a variety of projects that are happening simultaneously. Here's how you do it. First of all, you need to buy a pad of graph paper. Game plans work best on graph paper. So take a sheet of graph paper and make vertical columns of the number of days this plan is to cover. Then on the left-hand side of the paper, write the heading, Activities. Under this heading, list all of the activities to be accomplished within your time frame. Let's say, for example, that you've got 1 week to finalize a marketing plan. It's an overwhelming amount of work to complete, but it's got to be done. So break it down piece by piece. The best way to start is by listing all of the individual components on the left-hand side of the page. Now, some of these things need to be completed before others can be started. You need to have your market research results in before you can determine your target market. You need to know your target market before you can develop your marketing strategy. You need to have your marketing strategy before you can create a budget for collateral materials, and so on. When you break down the project piece by piece, deadline by deadline, you can be more effective in delegating the appropriate pieces of the puzzle. And you can be more effective in doing your own work while orchestrating the rest. The final result of developing a visual chain, your game plan, is a clear visual presentation of the tasks before you. Keep your game plan in plain sight. Put it up in your office where you can easily look at it. Have a copy of it at home and tape it to the refrigerator. Keep a copy in your journal for quick reference. Your game plan will serve as a constant reminder of all that you need to do to get where you want to go. If you're doing all that you're scheduled to do, game plans are very rewarding. And the discipline of developing and following a game plan is exciting. Day by day by day, week by week by week, month by month by month, you'll see the magic of your dreams and plans turning into reality. It's an incredible feeling of being in charge of your life, your surroundings, your future. It's like creating a work of art on the biggest canvas imaginable. It's creative. It's beautiful. This is powerful stuff, to dream a dream, plan for the dream, and then to watch your dream turn into reality. And what's really powerful about creating game plans is that you can see your future right before your eyes. So on those days when your energy isn't up to par, your enthusiasm is a little low, your ambition isn't pulling you, and your attitude isn't on the high side, on those days, use your game plan to see how far you've come and take time to realize just exactly where it is that you're headed for. On those days, it's your discipline and visual chain of the future that will pull you ahead. It can't possibly set you back. It'll pull you ahead. Develop a game plan for your life and make sure that it includes more than work projects. Make sure that your game plan includes time for recreation, time for reflection, time for exercise, time for health, time for spirituality. Let's say you've developed your plan and you've penciled in writing a report from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Well, what if you don't do your best report writing this early in the morning? What if you do this kind of work best at 3 in the afternoon? Then juggle your projects around a little. Know yourself well enough to know what you do best at different times of the day, of the week, of the month. Know the best time for you to accomplish a certain type of task and schedule it during those times. You have to work with your game plan in order for it to best work for you, and you have to maintain the discipline of working your plan until what? Until you've got it down. In the end, it is your own discipline that acts as the magic catalyst to give substance and depth to your ambition, to achieve your own plans and dreams, to have what you want to have, and to become what you want to become. Your consistent self-discipline is the magic catalyst. The ultimate question cannot be whether you are going to make the fundamental disciplines your own. The ultimate question is when. With the intense and consistent application of worthy disciplines, we have the individual and collective capacity to change ourselves, our incomes, our attitudes, our lifestyles, and our effect on other people. We can change opinions. We can change leadership. We can even change the direction of our nation.
Okay, so let me change this real quick. Okay, well, let's guess. All right, I was going to change. Go back to this. Okay, before I get into this next slide, and excuse me there, and sorry, I got a phone call during the middle of this, and I've got too much Bluetooth on. One of the things that I want you guys to take away from this is I am very focused on not so much, my role with you all is not so much to make you the best bird forestry advanced ecology employee that has ever been hired. When I work with clients, what I want is for you to be the most optimized, best performing human being you can possibly be. That is my goal. That is my job. That is my mission. Here's what that looks like. Whenever John and Cheyenne are at home with River, I want them thinking about nothing but their relationship as a family, enjoying it with a clear mind, being 100% present. The best way to ensure that happens is to create a disciplined game plan to keep work at work and home and family with home and family. Jared, you just bought a new house, dude. That is an incredibly large undertaking. That is going to bring with it stresses that you heretofore have not dealt with. You are going to have to do things to make sure that you have the time, the clear head to function at home with at the most optimized level you possibly can, because things are going to be completely different from now on. Micah, for you and Gunner, you want to make sure you are there for him, 100% present. And the best thing to do to prepare for that is to make sure that every step is planned out. Look, here's the deal. Life is going to happen whether we participate or not. The train is going down the track, and you can do one of two things. You can either plan on how you will sit on the train, how you will function on the train, and you'll prepare as best you can with all the absolute known factors, all the data at hand as you possibly can. You're going to know how to prepare and to function as optimally as you possibly can. Or you're just going to take things as they come and react and live in this constant state of unsteadiness. If you've ever felt anxiety, a lot of what the human body feels when it comes to anxiety, what that is, anxiety is nothing but a signal. It's an alarm for something else. There's something somewhere. It's like a smoke alarm. There's smoke coming from somewhere. That's what anxiety is. And a lot of times it's due to something as simple as poor planning. You know, you have things coming up. You know, you have things to do, to execute upon that you have not fully prepared for. So what I try to get each and every client that I work with to do is, first and foremost, figure out how your mind works, figure out how a game plan works, and get that plan. It's like I mentioned in the last meeting before coming to record this. You know, a lot of our stress is simply because we've got these little gnats flying around in our head that would be so easy to just get out, and because they take up a disproportionate amount of space. They're small little 1-minute phone calls, 2-minute emails, whatever the case may be, that are hovering around, and they feel bigger than they actually are. And so optimize and plan and use the sheet, use the flow chart that I've sent you guys to look and try to figure out so that everything has its place, so that even if you know, and here is how your brain will react, and it will absolutely respond. If you get into that overwhelming state where someone calls, you have to go out to a tract of land, or you have to get a report out quicker than you thought, you may say to yourself, oh my gosh, your brain will go, your amygdala, which is right up in here, it's this little almond-shaped part of your brain that was designed to help us look for danger. And what happens is, whenever that phone call that you weren't expecting comes in, immediately your brain is going to go into fight or flight, which means you have all these other things to do, and now they're calling. So when it runs to that filter, what you need to prepare yourself for is a state of, that's okay. Yes, I have a lot of things to do, but they're all in their proper place. They're all planned. I know about them. And here's the good news. Yes, I have this other report to do, but I wasn't planning on working on it until tomorrow at 2:00 anyway. I'm good. So it keeps you calm. And then eventually, once you do this over enough time, then you'll get to the point where when those phone calls, that unexpected kick to the gut or whatever the case may be comes in, your brain just automatically defaults. It's always going to be like, hey, but wait a minute, you've got this. But it will quickly on its own, almost automatically go, but that's okay. You're planned, you're prepared. That's okay. You're good. Whereas right now, if you're just operating as like the 40X calls it, if you're operating in the whirlwind at all times, then you're going to be in a constant state of panic. Even though it didn't seem like what we think of as panic, like drowning or something like that, your brain, your amygdala will constantly be filtering all these things that you got to do this, you've got to do this. And that's what overwhelming feelings of anxiety are. That's where it comes from. It's your brain protecting you. It's sending smoke signals saying, hey, but this, don't forget about this, don't forget about this. Because it doesn't know the difference. It doesn't know that you can plan. All it knows is you've already got these 10 things to do, and one thing just came in. Be afraid. Be afraid. Be prepared. What are you going to do? That's how it filters it. So you have to take control of that. And so that's what I want for you guys. So now these are questions that I have. Just kind of, will you decide to own your business this year? Will you take ownership, extreme ownership, like Jocko Willink always talks about, that whatever you have to do, the task at hand is your job. You're going to find purpose and meaning in that. As a believer, and I'm not trying to profess anything on anybody else, and I hope that Mark doesn't get upset with me saying this, but one of the biggest things that has changed the way I view any work that I'm doing is there is a verse in the Bible, which I personally believe as a Christian, that says, do your work as though you're doing it unto the Lord. That's a total game changer. That creates a sense of purpose and meaning in your work and in your tasks that give them an elevated sense of purpose. And that's what you want to do. So will you own your business this year? Will you take it as though you're doing each and everything for a greater cause? I actually got this idea besides the Bible. It was reinforced by a guy named Viktor Frankl, who wrote the book, Man's Search for Meaning. So Viktor Frankl was a PhD. He was a clinical psychologist that was taken prisoner during World War II. The Nazis came and they took him. He was Jewish, and they took his entire family, as a matter of fact. And at the time, he was working on logotherapy, or logos therapy, which is essentially a type of psychology that helps you sort out what's going on and taking ownership and independence in things and how you will deal with life. That's what he had just written a thesis for. And he ends up going into the Nazi concentration camps. You have to understand something. This was an educated man, family man, and they shaved his entire body. They stripped him of all of his belongings, as they did all the prisoners at that time. They took everything, and he describes in Man's Search for Meaning that basically you were left with absolutely nothing, not even your own name. You were called by a number from thereafter. And he decided to put logos therapy into practice while he was in the Nazi prison camps. And what he did is he wanted to find out how the prisoners who seemed to survive did so versus those that would seemingly die, get ill, and just not perform, if you will, as a human being in these horrible, horrible circumstances. What made some survive and some not? What he noticed was, one, those who found purpose in the day and in the task at hand. We always hear a lot of times that being optimists, just think positive, be optimist. Did you know that he said that most of the optimists were the ones that suffered the most, because they would say to themselves, we're going to be out by Christmas. Christmas would come, they would not be released, and it was just a devastating blow. Christmas was like, and imagine they're saying this 10 months out, 9 months out from Christmas. He said the ones that had the best time were those that, one, hung on to the memories that they had before going in, and the family that they hoped was somewhere out there that they would one day see again. They had something bigger. They had a family that they were surviving for. So you got to have your for, you got to have your why, like Nietzsche said, and then Viktor Frankl reinforced in Man's Search for Meaning. He who has a big enough why will overcome almost any house. So you got to figure out, why am I doing this? Why do you get up and go cruise tracks besides, your paycheck? Why are you really doing it? So you can provide for you, for your family. There's a bigger why. There's a greater purpose in that. And so any moment, no matter how mundane, or if it's just a really big timber sale or whatever the case may be, however you guys measure what the really big projects are, find purpose and own that moment. And in part of owning your job is to be prepared in that moment. You're not just planning because Jason said it was a good idea to have a plan. I don't care if you listen to anything I say. Don't listen. You doing what I say to, show me something, say, hey, look, I did a plan, is meaningless. I'm just trying to provide tools that will make you and your life and your job better. Decide to do more than is expected of you. This is the same case. If you're doing your job for something bigger than you, you will absolutely execute on this. Plan your work and work your plan. I think I beat that dead horse, with both the Jim Rohn video, and now I'm telling you, if you will plan the work and work the plan, you will always feel more accomplished, more productive. You will remove anxiety. You'll be calmer. You will think clearer. It will have impacts on your life well beyond anything that you do for bird forestry. I can guarantee it. Treat your mind and your body as the single greatest asset for achieving. Get healthy. Get healthy. One more time, get healthy. Mentally, physically, spiritually. Take care of your body. We are souls wandering around, trapped inside this body, this mechanism. Keep it healthy. If you protect it, it will protect you. You will be a better thinker. You will live longer and happier. Look, here's the deal. You're going to live longer. We're living in the 21st century where a lot of people are living longer. They're alive longer, but they're not necessarily living longer. I'm of the opinion that it would make a lot more sense that whenever I'm 95, that if I'm going to live to 95, I want to be able to still be active and do some things. Take care of your body. It's the one piece of equipment, all the stuff that you guys carry to do your job whenever you're marking boundary lines or whatever the case may be. I know y'all have got your GPSs that you use. Of all the tools that you have, the single most valuable tool to do your job is you, your body, and it's the one that you always have with you no matter where you are. Take care of your body, please. Work with purpose. This goes back to Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. Find purpose in what you are doing beyond just some menial task at hand, and match your personal goals with your professional goals. Look, if your job only serves as a means to provide the ability for you to send your children to college, to pay for your hunting, to put food on your table, whatever the case may be, make sure that you are matching. If you want to develop new skills, if you're wanting to, whatever the case may be, match your goals with your professional goals. They need to blend. And if there's a definite conflict between the two, if there's something that you are aspiring to do and to become, that somehow your role with bird forestry is standing in the way of, come to me. Let's figure out how to blend those. Always make sure the two are meshed. All right, here's a little question that I thought was kind of cool. It's just a way of thinking outside the box. I always want you guys, based on what Mark's directed me, is we want to have a team of entrepreneurs and innovative thinkers. And Elon Musk is one of the most innovative thinkers that there is. And so imagine that if Elon became bird forestry CEO, which area of the business would he focus on and why? And here's what he would do. He would look at the most opportunity. What is the thing that bird forestry does above and beyond our competition? What could we do differently to gain more market share? What could we do? And again, yes, this benefits bird forestry, but also finding those ways to innovate, do things differently for the better, to better serve the clients. I guarantee you it's a huge win for you guys. You will feel differently about the work you perform. So think about something. If Elon Musk came into bird forestry, what would he tackle? What would be the thing that he would look at and go, we need to do much more of that. This company is really good at doing this and needs to do more of it. Or this company has the ability to do this and is not taking advantage of it. Always be asking the question, why bird forestry? If a landowner can go anywhere and use any consultancy, why bird? What makes us different? And that comes down to basically why you, because you're going to manage the relationship. You really are. You're going to be the face of bird forestry. Jared, John, Nathan, all of you guys, Dalton, you represent Micah whenever a landowner calls in, Cheyenne whenever she deals with folks, Carol whenever a landowner calls in, you are the face of bird forestry. So why you? Why are you the right person to steward? And like we've said before, in a lot of instances, the single most valuable asset that these families have. Here's something else that I want you to think about is how can you be the linchpin? Why be a cog in a wheel? Why not be indispensable? This is how you add value not only to your organization, but most importantly, to you in your career and how you fit into the overall scheme of things.
This is me in my early 20s. Every day I showed up to a straightforward and undemanding job. I was told what to do by my bosses, and independent creativity was rarely necessary. I did what was required of me, and I collected paychecks. This went on for years. My life was stable, and my life was seemingly secure. Then, one day, I came to work, and out of the blue, I was told I was being replaced by somebody younger and cheaper. My comfortable bubble was broken. My illusion of security was shattered. What I wish I would have known at the time is the lesson contained in Seth Godin's book, Linchpin. I needed to learn how to become indispensable. When you are told what to do, when you display no creativity, when you take no initiative, you are a cog. You become a cog in a massive, uncaring machine. See, there are unlimited people out there who are willing to become cogs because there are no special requirements to being a cog. You are a warm body and you are supremely replaceable. The world is rapidly becoming more competitive. From globalization to the rise of artificial intelligence, there has never been a worse time to be a cog. And the future for a cog is even more bleak. Thankfully, Godin presents the way forward. We must become a linchpin. A linchpin is unique and remarkable. They stand out in the crowd because they're not afraid to express themselves. They are someone who is more human and more connected, thrive on establishing genuine relationships with people. They are mature, passionate, and energetic. A linchpin sees the world for how it really is, not how they hope it is. A linchpin designs their own future, but when things don't go according to plan, they are flexible and non-attached to a particular outcome. Unlike cogs, linchpins don't sell themselves short. They know they add value to the world. Linchpins are leaders. They are willing to put themselves on the line by challenging the status quo or rocking the boat if necessary. In a meeting at work, they speak up when they have a great new idea, and they're willing to take responsibility for that idea. Now, the most important role of a linchpin is being an artist. A linchpin must create art. They are artists not just in the practice of their skill, but the bravery and insight of their creation. They are artists willing to take risks. They're willing to do something nobody has done before. Their art is creative, passionate, and personal. Because they pour themselves into their craft, their art is emotional labor. What separates artists from the masses of cogs is a willingness to do this emotional labor. This labor is the most important aspect of their art, and it's also why the definition of a linchpin artist is very broad. Emotional labor is the waiter who is willing to bring joy and delight even to an angry and disgruntled customer. Most people don't think of it as art, but the ability to create memorable, charismatic, and genuine interactions with people is a form of art. Now, linchpins don't create art for the money. They create art for the love of giving gifts to the world. When money is the purpose, it saps art of its power. The real power of art is the ability to change people. Linchpins change the world through brave works of art that call others to action. Their art begets more art. The receiver of their art is motivated and energized to create their own art, and the gift chain keeps going. Linchpins are creating an economy based upon giving gifts that lead to even more gifts and creating connection that leads to even more connection. Creating art is about overcoming fear and resistance. Godin calls this resistance the lizard brain. This is the part of our brain that tries to keep us from becoming what we know we need to become. The lizard brain loves the safety and security of the status quo. The lizard brain doesn't want us to rock the boat. It doesn't want us to jeopardize our social standing by sharing ideas or creating art, which makes us vulnerable to criticism. What the lizard brain doesn't know is that not taking risks is the biggest risk of all. The lizard part of our brain is outdated for the competitive world that now demands we stand out. Unwillingness to express ourselves and become more than a cog will be our downfall in this new world. We must overcome our fear of creating art. We must not only create it, we must also ship it. We must finish it and release it into the world. Art is a gift, and a gift must be received. Now, fighting resistance isn't comfortable, but if you're going to create art and stand out, you must be willing to be uncomfortable. Linchpins love being uncomfortable. They seek out uncomfortable situations because they know that is where the lizard brain has no power. The lizard brain thrives on comfort and familiarity. You must break out of your comfort zone and head out into the unknown if you want to beat the lizard. While unfortunately we have this lizard part of our brain, we also have access to its mortal enemy. We have what Godin calls the daemon. This is also sometimes referred to as the inner genius or the muse. This muse connects us with infinite creativity. The muse wants us to become more than a cog. We only gain access when we constantly cultivate this inner relationship. We must show up every day, fight resistance, and do emotional labor in order to connect with our inner genius. And this genius, in turn, will reward us with creative superpowers. Society now rewards those who are willing to stand out, give gifts, and create connections. You have a linchpin inside of you, and now is the time to unleash it.
So besides looking at yourself individually as a linchpin, what are 3 things that you bring to bird forestry that make you indispensable? But then more importantly, what makes bird forestry indispensable to our clients? See, as I watched that and as I thought about that and why I wanted to put this in the presentation is I'm not so concerned. Well, I mean, it's always a concern that you guys are being creative at work. One, because I think it'll just be more fulfilling for you. I think that you will enjoy your work more than you would otherwise. But also, look, it's really easy for a forestry consultant to become just kind of a cog to the client. How are we adding art to the work so that the client says, there is no way I would ever let anyone but Jared Rhodes steward my plantation. He tells me what I need to do, when I need to do it. He's bold enough to challenge me. He's bold enough to be creative and say, have you thought about this? If you start taking those risks, and if you start taking ownership of the art that is your business as a forester, I can guarantee you will have more job fulfillment. You will feel better about what you're doing. And the almost an ancillary benefit is the landowner, the client, is getting a lot more than they ever bargained for. So anyway, think of 3 things, and you can do this 2 ways. 1, what makes you indispensable? What makes you irreplaceable as a forester at Bird Forestry? But then 2, what makes Bird Forestry indispensable to our clients? So with that, I think, yeah, who is Bird Forestry? We know what that is. Family-centered, comprehensive, innovative, and exclusively client-focused. So bear that in mind. Let's live up to those standards, and let's have a killer 2022. Thanks.